Welcome to the channel and Medieval Kingdom Wars, and this is going to be a video on update 52, which was released on the 5th of April 2018 if you're watching this in the future. Now I'm going to start with a couple of caveats. The first one is the one I always give. I'm not going to sit here and read through every single minor detail of this update. It is a very substantial update, so I'm going to focus purely on the ones I can demonstrate within the game. If any of you guys want to see all the details and the bug fixes and everything, there will be a link in the video description for you to follow and read that through in your own detail. And the second caveat is, as I've already mentioned, this is a substantial update. I've only played about 3-4 hours of test play to try and get a feel for some of the new features, especially the new happiness factor. And I'm going to say, guys, that at the moment I'm still trying to get a handle on it a little bit. So some of the things I might say are based on my first impressions. So I don't want you to assume that somehow I'm an expert on this. I'm very much in the similar boat to you guys. It's just updated, and I have to say that the absence of tooltips does make it a little bit difficult to actually try and work out how the mechanic is implemented. So what I will say is I will give my impression. If any of you guys have been playing the game since the update came out, and if you've discovered observations, feel free to add the comments, because that's partly the purpose of this video, so we can actually share our opinions and observations with the wider community. So I think what we're going to do is do what I always do. We're going to let the devs have the first say. And you can see here it says update 52, massive update, and it is quite a substantial update. And it says after 2 busy weeks, it's time to present another massive update for update 52 with over a dozen major new features and additions. It's one of the biggest updates we have had so far. Over 50 new starting lords, increased from 14. Population happiness with lots of gameplay effects. First round of the interface updates, the renown implemented, cheats enabled, and so much more. I'm not sure why they enabled cheats, but I'm not going to talk about those, guys. As the spring continues, we have several truly exciting updates on the way. In the next update 53, we will be presenting a long-awaited multiple armies feature. I'm really looking forward to that. Next up in 54, we'll be wrapping up diplomacy and reworking campaign AI. And finally in 55, we will implement the first campaign co-op features. Around this time, we should also see the first installment of the long-awaited Direct 11 update, as well as 4 new major towns and terrain sets. So you can see that not only is this a big update, but there's going to be a lot of change coming up in the next couple of months, guys, and that is going to affect gameplay. And that is going to be one of the issues. But then that is both the joy and the frustration of playing early access games, that when a new update comes out, all the strategy changes, and then you get the pleasure of relearning the game all over, developing new strategies. And to me, that's one of the reasons why I like playing early access games. The frustration, of course, is that if you've got a campaign running, it's a good chance the save game will break. But that's beside the point, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in on the campaign map. And you can see I've been messing around with England, and this screen looks the same as ever. And to start a new game, you come in here, and of course you now come in on this screen, which is totally different from before. You've still got the familiar kingdoms across the bottom here. No, there's no new kingdoms being added, but what you now have is a list of lords associated with each kingdom. So if you kick in here now, you get a list of the 3 lords you can play. So you're no longer playing an unnamed lord in there. You can now choose a lord to play, and you can see the starting positions have been revamped. There's been renown and standing added to it. Now, one thing I will say, guys, and this is very much my observation, I think eventually in the long term, and I personally would like to see it, is actually being able to put in a custom name as a lord. I mean, that could be the next logical step from this screen, you know, that you can type in, say, I want you are to play Clan Chief Silverbeard O'Brief or something like that, or Clan Chief Silverbeard. I mean, that would be a really cool feature, guys. Anyway, so what you can do now, we're going to look at France. I think I've flogged England a little bit, and one of the problems I've had with test gameplay with England is England's in a very aggressive war with France, and the French keep turning up and fighting battles, which makes it very difficult to demonstrate the new features, especially the new happiness mechanic. So if I go through this now, guys, as you can see, if you select a lord, most of them all start with a major settlement. And this is Orleans, and as you can see now, Orleans starts with 2 minor settlements. It's got a renown of 161, standing of 45. But if I can find Bohemia, where is it? Duke of Burgundy. Well, if I can find jolly old Portugal, where is it? Come on, Portugal. There you are. Portugal starts with 2 minor settlements, so if you want a tougher start, there's still the option of minor settlements. And I think if you come to Bohemia, if we can find it, I think this one, if you really want to play a very tough start, you can play Lord Meganard, Graf of Brunswick, and start with 1 minor settlement. So you can now basically choose the starting position you want and the how can you say, the structure that you want very beginning, because we're going to play John of Valois, because I want to play around. Oh, he's got Caen. Okay, who's got, where's Orleans? Okay, Charles de Leclerc. Okay, I thought John Valois was in charge of Orleans. Okay, anyway, never mind, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in on the campaign map as Count Charles de Leclerc in Orleans. So here we go, guys. And what I'll do is I will see you once we get onto the campaign map. Welcome to the campaign map, and top tip, pause the game as soon as you arrive, because the happiness mechanic kicks in immediately, the same as the silver. And well, just to show you guys, you can see here they all start as negative, and the reason for that is the fact that your troops give you a positive effect and your taxes give you a negative effect. So if we get back to Orleans here, so we've got a nice big group of soldiers here, but you can still see Orleans has a negative effect due to the fact that we're on 50% taxes. So that's the reason why you want to pause the game immediately, because it's going to be quite difficult to manage this happiness over the long term, and you don't want to lose any more than what's necessary. And I think before I get into the details of the mechanics, what I want to do is talk about the penalties, because of course there's always penalties associated with public order or happiness in strategy games. I won't mention the games that where it can drive you completely up the wall. And in this new mechanic, if you can manage to get your happiness up to level 75, you will get 2 times trade goods. Now there's no other positive effects on that. The rest are all penalties. If your happiness drops to minus 25, your city will effectively stop producing trade goods. Now if it drops to minus 50, the population becomes very unhappy and they deny entry to the town, which means effectively they're going to close off your enter city mechanic option. That is going to be a very interesting mechanic, because obviously you need to manage the city to actually do things. I mean, you can obviously manage it at the top level, so you can be restricted to managing at the top level. And then the final one is rebellious, where it says which is minus 75, where they stop paying taxes. Now, personally looking at this, I think they're a bit back to front. I would say that they would stop paying taxes at minus 50, and then at minus 75 they would get rebellious, because they're effectively slamming the doors shut and saying you ain't coming in the city. So I'm not sure how that is actually going to work. So I'm going to put my hands up, guys. The lowest I've got to is minus 25 in my testing. I haven't got down to minus 75, so I don't know exactly what happens there. But I think that the consequence is that you want to keep away from minus 75 as much as possible. So how does the happiness mechanic actually work? Well, the way, as they say in the release notes, is that if you've got your troops in your garrison, I'm assuming that includes serfs, it may even include the pigs and carts as well, adds to the happiness. And obviously taxes is going to have a negative effect on your happiness, because who the heck likes paying taxes? And just to demonstrate that, guys, is if you look just to the right of the 0 in the brackets, you see a minus figure, and if I actually do that once, I drop it 5%, you will see that immediately becomes a positive figure. Now if I get, and of course you can set the tax rate per settlement. Now this is a level 2 settlement, but of course 45 doesn't work because we got a smaller garrison. So what we need to do is drop to 40, and let's see, we reach 35 and it's a neutral. And I want to leave it there because I want to demonstrate something in a minute. And if we go to Bourges, and again this has got virtually a non-existent garrison. This is what makes me feel that it's the troops that actually have an effect on this. And you can see we've got to get right down to 30, and that becomes positive. Now, I think the reason that this settlement, Romantin, is balanced and this one is negative is the fact that the difference in change between tax rate and troops means that there's extra, the reduction in tax has had an extra effect, which makes this positive. And the way the mechanic works is as the game runs, this, so if I can unpause it, now we can unpause it now and just let it run. We're in the safe zone now. What actually happens is this value goes up and down based on whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. Now, the other big impact on happiness is buildings. So if I come in here and I'll show you, an iron camp has a -10 effect on the population. So does the stone camp, and the storehouse is -5, and the barn is -5. Now, as far as I can tell, these are accumulative with a total on the outside. So I come back here. So if I build, no, I don't want to do that. No, we'll come back to that, guys. But at the same time is if you build an academy, a hospital, and a market, it's positive. I can't show that to you because these are not unlocked. The military buildings are neutral. You can see they're neither negative or positive. And I think that applies to the siege engines, the stables, and the barracks and the range. So at the moment you can see here, Bourget has gone up to, while I've been talking, Romantin stays the same, and Orleans has actually reached +4. Now, the next mechanic that actually has effect, I need to find Romantin, is this. Now, bear in mind that's 0, pay attention, and if I enter the city, so here we are, guys, we're in the town. And what I'll do is I've got to do it, guys. Sorry. So we're just going to allocate these guys to chop wood, get them going. And then if we come out immediately, so we're just going to quit out straight away. And we go here, we find Romantin. You'll see here, we've got immediately a -6 directly applied penalty to this area. So going into any settlement appears to apply a -6 penalty, but you can see straight away that at the same time this has gone positive, and I'm not too sure why that's gone positive, unless the fact that there's some other factor working in this area. Now, just to kind of demonstrate this a little bit more, if I come in here, we got quite a lot of cash. If I build, let's build an iron camp and come back here. You see that doesn't apply straight away to here. Building an iron camp doesn't add another 10 onto that, but what you see is this now goes negative. And to compensate for that -10, you've got to drop the tax rate down again or build some troops. I mean, we could recruit some troops just to demonstrate it. I'm spending money that I don't really have. Maybe this isn't the ideal solution. Maybe we'll just drop the tax rate down a bit because I don't want a rebellion. But if we come to Orleans already +2, but if I build well, how much money? We've got plenty of money. So if I build an iron camp, actually if I build it down here, so if we build an iron camp here, again you can see it's now gone negative. But if I actually recruit troops, oh, we haven't got a barracks. Okay, let me just, yeah, I've got the money for it, so let me just come here. I think if we build a barracks, 900, yeah, I mean, it's not like going to be playing here. So we've now got there, but you can see the barracks does not have an effect. But if I recruit a couple of billmen, these are quite cheap actually. So if we build a couple of billmen, oh nope, maybe, whoops, maybe recruit some more units. Okay, let's get a billman and a maceman. No, it still doesn't want to come. Okay, how many troops have you got to build here, Key? I'm aware that I'm running out of money, so I'm going to have to collect my taxes. This is the problem you've got, see, by recruiting at this level. So if I collect taxes, we got a bit more cash. So if we can recruit some more units, maybe if I think it comes also down to level. But you can see here, despite recruiting these troops, it doesn't have an effect. But if you drop the taxes, that comes in there. So dropping taxes is more effective, but at the same time you've got to be careful, guys, the fact that we're now actually running and a deficit on Orleans. So there's going to be a question of balancing happiness against taxes. And what we're going to do now is just go into Orleans, because what I want to show you is the fact that there's also another penalty that happens when you go in. So we're going to take the -6, but because we've made it positive, that should offset some of that -6. But there's also in the release notes, it says that the longer you stay in, the more unhappy your population will get. So I'm just going to kick these guys off. I'm going to jack the speed up a little bit. There's nothing on this screen that gives you any indication whatsoever about what effect you're having on happiness. So this is something that's a bit tricky to gauge. Now, one of the downsides of building on the top level is you don't know where the building is, but I've actually built it there, so that's actually there. Now, what I will say, guys, is if you upgrade a building, that does not affect happiness. Okay, you get building as well, and I think what we can do is actually build a barn here.
You cannot afford that, sire.
Okay, what's up with it? Okay, we should be able to build it now. Okay, yeah, the wood was just a bit short. So going forward now, guys, as I say, I can't recommend a strategy because I haven't played the game long enough, but I think it's going to be a question of balancing between coming in here and building the buildings here and taking the public order penalty against spending the cash. And my inclination would be still to come in this way and build it, because at the same time is at the moment, let's build a chicken just to get a bit more cash flowing. But maybe if for a barracks or something that you want to get in quickly, you actually use the cash. Now, the other kind of possible issue is that, and I haven't tested this, so correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you're not actually in the settlement, you're not accruing the resources. And that could be an issue if you're trying to build up the resources to recruit the troops to build your army. Then this actually comes back to the concept, guys, that if you're going to come into the settlement, you're going to need to actually plan how long you're going to be in here. Because if I now come out, and if we look at the Orleans now, you can see we've got -6 and we're also negative again here. But that should have dropped a bit further. But if we drop that down, we can recover it that way. And just to confirm, so we've now got a level 2 barracks. I mean, we can upgrade at this level, but and we've got a barn, a stone camp, and an iron camp. But obviously, we don't want to do that. So I think that covers most of the mechanics of the happiness. I think it's going to be a question of just adjusting the strategy and spending the time. But what it will do is stop players from hiding in the settlement, building up loads of resources, building mega armies, and then going out and attacking other settlements. You're now going to have to be a bit more careful with the way you go forward. It's going to take a little bit more time to build up the necessary armies to go and attack, because obviously this army is pretty wimpy. I mean, it's not going to do absolutely nothing. But of course, what we could do now is, if I come here, we could obviously bring this over, bring these troops over like this. Oops, I can't. These guys are not worth the effort. So we can take these guys over, and maybe we can put a few more in here like this. That gives me a fairly strong conquest army. I mean, obviously I would probably take these out as well. And if we now look at this army is now 72, but you can see now the public orders drop down to negative again. So I think that covers the happiness. As I say, I will be doing a short series because of all the updates that are coming. It'll probably be a mini series to cover the basic strategy in probably the next week or so coming through, depending on how the updates drop. Now, before we call this video to an end, I want to talk about something else. This is another part of the update, and I'm just going to kind of read it. It says, other major changes. It says, towns and hamlets gain +6 combat strength per level. constructing each layer of a palisade wall adds 4 to the combat strength and 8 for a stone wall. So if we find Romantin, if you look at the army strength or defensive strength here is 28. We've actually got minus 12 here now. Wow, we're going to get to minus 25 at this rate. But you can see the army defense is 28. If I go into the city and incur another minus 6 penalty. So here we are, guys. We'll just get this. Just going to jazz the speed up a bit. And what I'm going to do is we should have enough here. 700. No, we need an iron camp. Okay. Just build an iron camp. Or did I already have an iron camp? Because it's just gone up. Okay, maybe I've already built an iron camp. Never mind. Now, remember it's 28. So if I...
Thy workers have completed a building.
Right, so if I build this up, you can see the towers are coming up. Now this counts as a fortification upgrade. So we're just going to let that finish. Is that all finished? Okay. And what we're going to do is just go out, guys. So here we are, back in again. Of course, we're in Romantin. We've now got minus 18. But you will see that the defensive capabilities risen to 32. And that's because by upgrading the defenses, we've now gained plus 4 to our defensive capability. Now, if you're fighting a battle, that's not going to be particularly of great use, but it's going to help when you're doing your auto resolves, and it will probably also have an impact on the AI, whether they decide they feel they can actually attack you. Yeah, we've got 2 iron camps. Okay, my fail there. So that's the first part of this map of major changes. And the other one is that if you actually upgrade the settlement, so if we can find Bruges, you can see here this is 18, and if we now upgrade the city, it's going to cost us 900. You can see that immediately jumps to 24. So when you upgrade the minor settlements, because of course you can't upgrade Orleans or walled cities, you can only upgrade the minor settlements, but by upgrading that actually increases that to 24. So that new mechanic actually now gives you a reason to concentrate on the upgrades besides keeping away the AI. You can see this settlement there. Actually, that's stabilized, doesn't it? Okay, well, that's interesting. And you can see here, while I've been talking, we're now slowly starting to claw back the negative happiness here. And in fact, I think it would be quite useful if that was like +4, +1, or 9, -1, so you could actually see the rate of change if they don't want to do a tooltip. So that's maybe another option. Anyway, and I think that covers all the main details of this update. I mean, there's obviously lots and lots of small changes. And one is the actual implementation of the renown, which I kind of mentioned on the beginning of the video when I was talking about selecting your faction. And I'm not sure how you improve renown. I presume that renown must have something to do with your construct. I mean, I haven't really looked into this, guys. So if any of you know how the effect of renown is, I mean, we've got Philip of France work there. So we got renown of 161. So I know standing relates to you doing good and bad things for your lead. So if you come here, send a gift, you gain standing. If you do something hostile, you actually get negative standing. I think renown might come from fighting battles, I would guess. So I think this is where I'm going to leave the video, guys. I think this is where I'm going to leave the video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. If any of you guys have been playing under this new update and you've got some tips and hints that you want to pass on, feel free to add them to the video description. So this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.